morning show, we explored what International Women's Day means for Africa's academic community and how initiatives like Wuhan are helping to shape the next generation of women's leadership in higher education. And to do this with me this morning is Dr. Felicia Kuagbezi, Kuagbezi, Head of Communications and Knowledge Management at the AAU. Doc, you're welcome. So let's begin with this. As the world marks the International Women's Day, what does this day represent particularly for women in academia across Africa?
Okay. So let me start off first by standing on behalf of the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities, Professor Olusola Oyewole, to wish a happy International Women's Day to all the many women that we have in Africa's higher education space, and also men who really have been part of our journey, men who support women, and who have been working with us in terms of seeing women rise to the top. So you asked the question in terms of what is the relevance. I would like us to look at it from maybe two perspectives. I would say International Women's Day serves as a mirror. It's a critical mirror. It's a day where we pause to reflect on how far we have come in this journey, how we can really celebrate the many young women that we have in academia. Now we have a lot of women moving through university systems, graduating successfully, but also to celebrate the leaders. We have a number of women vice-chancellors, like Professor Nanaba Piamfo, who is the vice-chancellor of University of Ghana and also serves as AAU's ambassador for social inclusion and gender and equity and things like that. Let me also maybe acknowledge the presence of Professor Pulen Lankabula from University of South Africa. If you go to Zimbabwe, we have Professor Domenica Chirangade, so a number of them. So we pause and celebrate the various milestones that we have achieved. But it also serves as a compass. It's a day where we tell ourselves, what are the key issues? What should be our drive as we move forward? We have gotten somewhere, but we are not there yet. So we reflect, we rally around, we pull together all stakeholders so that together as a community, we can map out the plan in terms of what should the next decade look like? How should the future of higher education as far as women engagement really look like? And then we put in place strategic measures. So it's a strategic day for us to reflect, but also to chart the next steps forward.
That's very, very good to hear. So let's get into this year's theme. The theme for this year says that give to gain. And it more or less brings up that idea that when you invest in women, societies benefit, communities benefit, a lot more people, benefit. Now, let's look at how that can translate to the higher education sector. How would people benefit when a woman is invested in the space of higher education?
Okay, so first of all, let's acknowledge that it's not just a slogan, but it's evidence-based. Several research have been undertaken widely to confirm that really whatever investment you put in a woman doesn't only end with her. So it's not about you sponsoring a young lady to finish her master's or to finish her PhD, but we are more interested in the multiplier effect. And there's no space that happens more than higher education. Higher education is really responsible for producing the human resource that transforms societies. So the doctors, the engineers, the policy makers are all produced by higher education. So higher education really plays a very critical role. If you invest in a woman and she's a woman professor in STEM, I mean, she being in the laboratory wearing her white coats and putting together various, chemical equations, she's doing her research work all right. But to the young lady who is with her in that lab, she's seeing a real role model, something that we have been told in society, we, as per our background as we're growing up, we've sort of been unconsciously sagged to think that STEM is a hard area. Courses like science, technology, engineering, mathematics are something that women find difficult. But there she is seeing a woman professor. So we are benefiting from the aspect of role models. Again, investing in a woman who eventually becomes a vice chancellor might have experienced various things as she rose up. So she would be deliberate about putting in place key strategies to ensure that the institution is shaped in a way which is favorable to the young woman who is rising up. So there are various multiplier effects, and I think we need to look at it from that way and should be encouraged to, motivate women and to invest in women so we can advance together as a society.
Great. So let's make this picture a bit broader in terms of Africa. In your own perspective, do you think that Africa has done a good job in terms of promoting women in higher education when it comes to leadership?
I think that we've made some progress,
Okay.
and it's important we acknowledge the progress.
Sure.
In years past, I'm sure the number of women VCs that we would have had, or the number of women, occupying various leadership positions were very little.
Yeah.
So we are getting somewhere, but there's still a lot of room. You enter boardrooms, and believe you me, if you look around, the number of women is still in single digits.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot more work that we have to do as we rise up together as a continent.
Yeah.
So as I did mention, we are doing a lot. Institutions are also being deliberate about putting in place some measures in place. We also have various groups supporting women now.
Okay.
There are various bodies as well. Talk about maybe Fawe, talk about OWSD, talk about Wuhan. So there are various support groups that are seeking to mentor young women, that are seeking to provide opportunities for women to rise up. But there's still a lot more that we have to do because we have not gotten anywhere at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you just mentioned the challenges, despite the progress that we are making. That's Africa in terms of women leadership in higher education and in other spaces. But to put it in context, do you think that there are structural challenges women face in academia?
Yes, I would say yes, there are. So take a young lady who has to undertake her PhD. And there's a scholarship which says the cutoff age is 35 years. Mind you, at that 35 years, women are battling or need to respond to their biological clock. So she spent a number of years trying to sort of produce children, trying to respond to family and care. And by the time she's ready to take up her PhD, she's already past 35.
Yeah.
But the scholarship says that the cutoff age is 35. So that's a structural issue that we are saying is to be addressed. I've been in rooms with women vice chancellors who, as part of sharing their experiences, have said there is unequal pay gap. When it was their time to assume the position, suddenly the housing that was available to their predecessor, who was a man, is no more available. Their salary has to be cut down, and there are so many impediments which stand in their way, and they think some of these could be potentially because they are a woman. And we are talking about Africa, where the majority of the job in terms of care, in terms of raising children, in terms of balancing all of that, a huge part of it falls on the woman. So we do have structural challenges that we should not ignore. I think no institution sets out deliberately to put in place measures or to implement strategies which disadvantage the women. But we have to be deliberate about recognizing and therefore putting in place a measure. Can a woman, for instance, take a 1-year-old baby to work? In some institutions, there are no such children-friendly facilities. Do men get paternity leave so they can support their spouse, at home? Can a woman who is on maternity leave really be on the leave without still expecting to publish, to research, and all of that? Because at the end of the day, when we are doing assessment, we are asking, how many papers were you able to publish? Irrespective of the fact that she was heavily pregnant during the period and was not so active, irrespective of the fact that she was away on maternity leave. So which means she's supposed to still be able to undertake her research, publish, and all of that without necessarily looking at all of. So we really do have systemic challenges we are saying we have to be deliberate about recognizing them and therefore putting in place measures so that we can, overcome them and we grow together.
I like that you mentioned that we have to be deliberate about, touching on or working on these kind of structural challenges. And I see that it is important because sometime last week, or probably 2 weeks ago, I was on LinkedIn and then suddenly I saw a post from one of my friends. You may know her, Dr. Mawala Awiti, from the University of Ghana. She recently became a PhD holder as well. Okay. And I saw her make a similar post about a fellowship that she had found and she was going to apply to, only to find out that the cutoff age is 35.
Exactly. So I didn't even know. It was also 35.
Yes. So I can very much relate to this because I haven't spoken with her yet, but I mean, you could see her frustration in that write-up on LinkedIn. So I can very much agree with you.
Oh, I did leave out issue of sexual harassment.
Well,
so maybe let's throw that in as well.
Go ahead.
As a challenge.
Yes.
And of course, it's not only in the case of women, but it's more in the case of women than in men.
That's true.
So we would want institutions to put in place measures, mechanisms that tighten all of these loose ends.
Okay.
So women can thrive, within the university system.
So that definitely means that there must be a deliberate and systematic approach to make sure that these problems or these structural problems are kept or are no more there. Okay, so in terms of the university environment, how can women in academics thrive and advance into leadership roles, okay, by themselves, barring all of these challenges that we have talked about? What is one way or two, maybe just one or two things you think women can do by themselves to advance in such roles?
Okay, so let me maybe discuss it in terms of what institutions should do and then what women should also do. So institutions, I would recommend that institutions are deliberate about undertaking gender audits. From time to time. It should be a very regular exercise that institutions undertake. So they can be able to identify areas that need strengthening. We've been tasked to fix the institutions and not necessarily focus on fixing women. Because when the key issues within the institutions are fixed, then perhaps women can possibly thrive. So institutions have to be deliberate. I did mention the need for having policies which allow women to thrive. They need to have a friendly environment where a woman can bring her child and then others. In terms of what you can do as a woman, I would say that we also have to reach out. Let's not stay within our small corners. There are various platforms for networking, collaboration. Get yourself in there as a woman, be able to engage with other like-minded people. So don't shut yourself away from all these bodies and all these networking groups. As a woman as well, I would say that we have to be confident. We need to think that we have a role to play. Our voices matter, our thoughts matter. Africa really needs you. So you really have to be confident. You need to assert yourself. You need to be able to challenge the status quo. Because if you are there to just toe the line of what has been happening over the years without necessarily seeking to fix the challenge, to fix the system, then nothing would really happen. So I would want to encourage women to also make sure that they have a voice. Usually we also hear that women are our own enemies.
True.
And I've heard this across in many places. And people shared their own experiences. So if you are also a woman who is at the peak of your career or who is really, up there, I would really plead that you mentor, you stretch your hand to a younger person who is coming up, uplift them, and be a voice be a person who is seeking to bring other women up. Because mentorship is really key. So for the young lady has to seek mentorship, but those at the top also have to be deliberate about wanting to uplift, these young people up. So perhaps those are some of the ways. But us as women as well, let's also be deliberate about, in the midst of all these challenges, we should not despair. You should still, like the PhD person you mentioned, she still has to search out there. There probably might be other opportunities with better age cutoff. We hope so. So she should not give up at all. Just continue on her pursuit, in terms of wanting to advance herself, career-wise.
Okay. So now, Doc, let's bring this conversation home. That's towards the AAU and the Wuhan initiative. So the Association of African Universities has been promoting gender inclusion in academia. Can you tell us about the Women in Higher Education Network and possibly what inspired the creation of Wuhan?
Okay, so let me throw this back to 2021.
Okay.
And also to recognize the founding members. We have my boss, Madame Nudmod Lamini. May she rest in peace. We also have women like Madame Sheila Nabuama. She comes from industry. We have Professor Elizabeth Mamifio. We have myself, Dr. Beatrice Njenga. So a number of women who have been in the space came together and recognized that as the Association of African Universities, we need to strengthen, our impact as far as trying to advance issues of gender, as far as trying to advance issues of women is concerned. So Wuhan was formally launched in 2021.
Okay.
And Wuhan seeks mainly to strengthen the advancement of Africa's higher education with women playing an inclusive and equitable role.
Okay.
So we want women to play a major role whilst we all work towards achievement of sustainable development goals and whilst we all work towards advancing Africa's higher education. So how does Wuhan does this? Wuhan focus on maybe 3 key pillars, if I can group them.
Okay.
One of which is capacity strengthening.
Okay.
So seeking to build the capacity of women so that we can advance. And along that, even as the AAU, we have a collaboration with our North Africa regional office, Europe regional office, ERO, hosted by University of Nottingham, and then also Ho Technical University, where we bring women together to take them through how they can better write to publish. Because in academia, you should be able to publish to be able to advance. So we are putting in place those capacity building measures. We are also focused on issues of advocacy and policy making, really engaging the top leadership of higher education so that they can put in place policies which, enable women to thrive. And then we also want to focus on trying to remove the barriers which impede women.
Okay.
So we tackle issues of unequal pay. We really tackle various issues so that we are sure women are participating effectively within the space, linking women so they can connect with each other. So issues of mentorship is one area that we focus mainly as well.
Okay, so at the mention of issues of mentorship, have you been able to include younger women in this Wuhan initiative so far?
Yes, Wuhan is open to faculty.
Okay.
It's also open to administrators within the university community. We also have students who are invited to join. And then women who work in places like Ministry of Education, in various research communities that are not typically in a university environment, but they are stakeholders of higher education or they are working for higher education. They are also invited to join the network.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So given the timeline you stated from 2021 to 2026, do you have any success stories or of impact so far with the initiative?
Yes, there's a lot that we can...
I mean, you can share about you with us.
Myself?
With you or with any other person who is part of the initiative.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me also tie it to our initiative with related to writing for impact.
Okay.
So when we did the first writing workshop, which is through sponsorship of British Council, by the way, it's important. I recognize British Council. We asked all the participants to make sure they put in a paper.
Okay.
So that we work with the publishers and, various team members to ensure that their papers are published. And I can tell you that there was a special issue which featured a number of these publications. So that's a good That's an immediate impact, because each of these participants now have at least a single paper to add to whatever papers they had. And then on the sidelines of the general conference, which the AAU hosted in Morocco, we had a side event focused on bringing women together. And I was just so proud looking at the caliber of women and men who were in the room. We had very strong men, you know, backing the initiative up. And we discussed these. These were all top vice chancellors, some of them registrars, some of them. And it's just become a very stronger community. And we still acknowledge there's a lot more that we need to do in terms of outreach so that we can have way more higher education stakeholders knowing about the network, joining, and then, all of us really moving hand in hand. We also promote that we work together with men. We believe that we cannot move. Women don't exist in society alone. We coexist with men. And then, as I did mention, men are even the ones who are in the majority when you enter the boardroom. So it's actually in your own interest to make them understand what your challenges are, what you are trying to advocate for, what you are pointing out, so that in those rooms where you are not there, where you cannot advocate for yourself, they become your advocates. And we've been very happy and proud to see men champions of, you know, women advancing in Africa's higher education.
I'm glad to hear there are men supporting this initiative, and I may have not mentioned it anywhere, but I'm in support as well. So going forward, we will talk briefly about the future of women in academia and also personal reflections. Okay, but before we do that, I want to bring in my colleague, Dr. Ajiman Otredakon, who I know is very much interested in the Wuhan initiative as well.
Hi, Phil.
Doc.
Hi, Doc.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Looking very good in your fugu.
We are declaring independence for women.
Exactly. Please come this way if you will, and so you can be close to Dr. Felicia.
Thank you.
And
well done. Well done.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
I believe you are coming to add up to the discussion.
Yes. In fact, if possibly, I could be the first male member on Wuhan.
Wonderful.
I would love to be. Yes, I would love to be. You know, I actually appreciate everything you said. The theme, Give to Gain, is telling how women can give a lot to sustain our world today. Women in higher education a lot has great strides. And the journey you began with these gallant women has bore so much fruit that today there isn't much to be said. Your point on sustainability, building and nurturing young early career research as well, also helps to also testify of your goodness. My question is there any way?
It shouldn't be a question. It should be a contribution.
My contribution.
It should be a contribution.
Is that
discussion.
how possible can men effectively and efficiently help women to also reach and achieve these goals? How possible can we help you?
Okay. So I think as I probably might have touched on some of them during the discussion. Have you entered a typical boardroom before? Or at least you would know, or maybe you are also a board member of some associations across the continent generally. And the majority is really the men there. The women are coming to the seats, but as they say, the chairs are full around the table, and we are, pushing so that we can bring our chair to come and sit in. So men can really support by they themselves recognizing and knowing the challenges that confront women. I think mostly some people are quick to brush it off, or they don't really see there's any issue. They think the system is not stifling women in any way, but it really is. So that is why, putting on a critical lens so you can recognize this and then be deliberate about then putting in place policies, putting in place measures so that the young woman can thrive. So that the woman who is even at the top, because those at the top are equally faced with challenges, they do discuss the challenges that they also face. Those at the top can also successfully and effectively deliver, so they can be the role models that we want them to be, so they can impact, the younger generation. So men should really come together as a united force with women hand in hand, and let's say these decade-long practices need to stop. These decade-long discussions where we think that what does she need all that money for? When it comes to unequal pay gaps, they will say, she's a woman, her husband will take care of her. What does she need all of this money for? we need to start changing our mindsets as men and as women as well. Because some women have also been brought up in a way that they think this is the norm. That's how it's supposed to be. I'm a woman. If I've reached this stage, it's okay. I don't need to progress any further. So we need to work hand in hand to change our mindsets, to shatter the institutional policies which doesn't favor, women, and to really chat. You did mention sustainability. So in everything that we are doing, we really should be looking at the next, the next generation. You would have children, you would have grandchildren. They would be men, they would be women. Would you be happy if they are faced with these situations? Yeah. So we need to look at it, long term as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So in closing, as a woman, this is a personal question, in leadership or in leadership role within the continental space of Africa, what has your journey been like?
So I would say that I have been blessed along the line. I have a very wonderful boss, which is the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities, who himself is a champion. I saw his message, to all women in African higher education on International Women's Day, which was just yesterday. So he believes in women empowerment. He's only looking for who can do the job, who can deliver, and he doesn't look at it through the lens of whether it's a male or a female. It's about getting the job done. So I have been privileged to work in such an environment. I would also like to say that previously when people used to say that the women at the top, don't bring their colleague women up, it used to sound strange to me. Why? Because I had a boss, Madame Modlamini, who would say that, I would support you to do this PhD. I want to see you do it to conclusion. It wasn't easy, having to balance work and still going through the program and still raising a family, of 3 young children at the same time. But she was there to support, to provide the room and the environment for me to grow. So I have been, very blessed to have such people along with me. But also, I would say that there are some challenges, but you also, as a person, need to know how to navigate any of these challenges. As a person, you should not give up so easily. If you believe this is the course and this is right and this is what has to be done, you go along with it. Ignore any comments, any naysayers, whatever it is. Just keep your eyes fixed on the goal. And I believe that with excellence, with right support systems, with a good collaborative environment, and you looking up to other role models that you can equally see who have made it to the top, you really should be able to overcome whatever challenges and issues you may be confronted with. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Felicia Kuagbezi.